Now you see, 9 times out of 10, the truth that you're looking for is staring right back at you in plain sight. And in today's video, we're going to look at the gym, going to the gym, and just generally exercise as a whole. This isn't mutually exclusive. If you don't have access to a gym, we're literally just going to look at how movement, you bettering yourself, can actually be pulled apart and dissected to help you grow and scale your business. Now, a little bit of context about me if you haven't seen me. I used to run a business called Legs Fitness Training, where I would do personal training, then moved it online, built that up, exited whilst I then branched out into Monday Media, which was like graphic design, branding, and now we're in a business called Clarity, which we'll get into that. But the gym for me, and what you must know coming into this video, is that the gym has always been a big part of my life. It's generally something that I feel has no downside to. I feel like it's an important aspect of everyone's life, and I've just got back from tonight, and on a cardio session, I was generally just thinking about how there's so many different ways that you achieve a goal, so many different ways that you want to achieve a dream physique, hit a new PB. All of that can be reverse engineered and literally applied to running a business, right? And the reason why this video is so good is because you don't have to think about reinventing the wheel. You don't have to think of anything new. It is literally just looking at what works in one area and applying it to another. So let's start off basic. We're going to go into structure and goal setting. Now, SMART goals are a very surface level resource when it comes to the gym. SMART goals are actually using a lot of business resource planning, right? So you need to make it specific, you need to make it measurable, you need to make it attainable, it needs to be relevant, it needs to be time based, right? That is the most fundamental concept of goal setting. But if we look at you right now and you're going to the gym, there's a goal that you have in mind, that's the first thing you do. Nobody's just going to go to the gym for the sake of it. You generally either want to lose weight, get stronger, build more muscle, improve your confidence. There is somewhere along that lines that you have a goal. You've got a vision of what your ideal self looks like, where you want to achieve that goal. The very same can be said in business. You'll be surprised how many people run a business. You could be an aesthetic practitioner, a coach, and you just simply show up every day as an online coach with no target in mind, no vision, and yet the years are going by, and you may get some peaks, you may grow a little bit, you could be a coach, you could compete, and that draws in some new clients. But bottom line, time is going by and there's other coaches that are surpassing you. Why is that? And one of the bottom lines is you just need to have a target, because you can't hit a target that you can't see. And I know obviously you're coming into this video expecting some new groundbreaking stuff, but genuinely I am just reminding you of what you already know. If you're watching this video, I know that you are a very capable individual, so you don't need to be taught anything new, you just need to be reminded. You have to set a goal in your business. If you are going to the gym, what goals do you have set? What do you want to look like? What do you want to perform like? Are you doing hierarchies? Are you training for a marathon? You have all these goals set for going to the gym, so why on earth do you not have them in your business? And you could probably do this and approach this quite well with inversion thinking. So as humans, we're very good at thinking of what we don't want. We're good at thinking of the negative. We're good at thinking of problems as opposed to solutions. So if you're struggling to set a goal for your business, start thinking of ways that you don't want to operate in business. So you don't want to fail. You don't want to go bankrupt. You don't want to have the money to not pay your staff. It could literally be anything. Start mapping out all the things that you don't want to achieve and you don't want to happen, and eventually you're going to be left with a list of things that you do want to do and things that do excite you. So your goal generally has to be the forefront of this entire video, at the forefront of any scalable and successful business, because without that, you're constantly going to be chasing your tail, wondering where the next client's going to come from, and you basically leave a lot to chance. Running a business can be, you know, the economics of business is a numbers game, right? But most people don't ever get into that position because they're too busy leaving it to, they're running theoretical businesses, and it makes no sense. So into the next stage, we have structure. So you have a goal, you want to lose weight in the gym. For the most part, a lot of my training was always focused on building muscle, getting bigger. I was a terribly skinny, you know, kid when I got into the gym. So I was like 15, 16, but prior to that, I was just doing push up after push up. For the boys that are watching, you'll know Mike Chatton, six pack shortcuts. That is a throwback and a half, and that for me was really like the basis of just a pure obsession, right? And as soon as I got into the gym, I was just training all the time. I found a structure, I found a routine, and throughout these different periods, these different eras, chapters, goal shifts in my life, I have always had a structure and a routine, in the sense that I go to the gym at a certain time, I do my cardio at a certain time, I eat meals at a certain time. Structure is what builds and drives businesses forwards. Again, you'll be surprised for the people that are just running these businesses and just sitting within their role, not really upskilling, not really going into anything new, and they've got no structure. Some days they'll do some DMs, some days they'll do some outreach, and yet again they're in that position of everything is fleeting, their competition is just annihilating them, and they end up developing a resentment towards their competition, thinking that the market is saturated, and it's just generally not a good mindset to be in. So you need to have structure, and you'll notice that I've sort of done this in chronological order, right? Because what structure could you ever have if you don't have a goal to begin with? So the idea here is that once you've got your goal, it could be a 10k month, it could be hire your first contractor, and then pull that contractor into a full-time staff member, and then from there you want to have a structure that reflects that. So you start reverse engineering it and working backwards. Now the idea with this is that it makes it more attainable, it makes it easier to achieve. So I haven't done a case study on this yet, there's a video coming, but I've just came off a really good weekend where I met up with a very, very dear friend, pretty much family, but also a client. And it's interesting because we're pretty much clients of each other's businesses. It's a unique relationship, but it's very good. And we just basically spent an entire 2 days together just re-strategizing and structuring his entire business. And we truly went through everything. And it all started with the resources and the methods that I'm giving you. First, we had to understand his goals and what he actually wanted to achieve, because we'd sort of took it from not necessarily something that was a hobby, but into something that, was, we'll call it a passion project, right? And I knew that there was potential there because he's in my circle, of course there's going to be, and there was just so much that needed to be done, right? So those entire 2 days, all we did was just strip everything down back to basics. We set out a goal, and then now we've got structures in place, we've got various processes in place that have basically just mapped out the entire full year in quarters, and already we're seeing results like just a day or two after the weekend. So the structure and how you're able to actually map out your days is monumentally important. Like I can't even, there's not a word in the dictionary that can, explain how pivotal this is, because without it you're just constantly going to be, losing, you're going to be inconsistent, there's not really anything that can come from it. And the good thing about this is there doesn't have to be any rigor to it, right? So if I'm saying that you need to have a structure and you need to go to the gym certain days, you need to be doing your outreach certain days, it has to be malleable, right? So as long as you have a structure, it's about that structure matching your goals. I haven't given you any specific like monk mode protocols journal this time. I haven't actually given you anything to actually follow, because it's the concepts, it's the points that I'm giving you that are going to be the most monumental and the most important, right? Your routine is going to be different from the next person watching this, because how you run your business, your goals in that business are going to vary and they're going to be individual. So what I please need to hit home for you guys is that whatever it is that your goal is, you need to have a structure in place that is going to allow you to achieve that. So the next one is a little bit more of a niche term. Depending on your goal, you're not necessarily going to be aware of this, but I'm talking about progressive overload. And progressive overload is a process in which you are aiming to build muscle and you are constantly creating tension on your muscles, i.e. your chest, your arms, your shoulders, your delts. And the idea is that week on week you progressively overload that muscle, so you increase the tension. So this could be up in the weight, it could be up in the reps, and the idea is that through consistent improvement, whether again that be through load, tension, time under tension, anything, you basically give that muscle a response. You give that muscle a stimulus where it will then respond and in turn grow. Now that concept, that strategy, that method in which we build muscle is so relevant and so dominant in business that it's almost weird how most people are not doing it. So how can we actually extrapolate this into running a business? Now progressive overload is just like Kaizen, it's continuous improvement. And each level of your business is going to demand a new version of you. And that's a video in and of itself where we're going to sort of talk about personal qualities. But if you're looking at a business over a quarterly aspect, the way in which you show up and the way that you need to operate, if you're growing on a linear scale or at least some form of trajectory, you need to make sure that you are consistently doing something different. You need to be doing more. And one of the most basic aspects, like progressive overload, is just up the weight or up the reps. It literally just means doing more than what you're already doing now. And I've learned this the hard way myself. So, a lot of the forefront of my business, my client acquisition is based off of cold outreach and referrals. So I've actually gotten away. I've been riding on the cheapo train, so to say, without really paying much attention to my social brand, my personal brand, because I've literally been so immersed in my own client stuff that I've been able to do that, right? It never used to be like that. I always used to be chasing my tail, wondering where stuff was going to come from, and it was only until I increased my outputs, like we're talking by a metric fuck ton, that it was actually allowing me to grow and actually see the returns. So a simple thing is, if you're posting once a week, they're rookie numbers. You've got to pump them up, right? You minimum want to be posting 5 times a week. There is not really an excuse for not being able to do that if you have a good understanding of your ICP and who it is you want to serve, your offer, and so on, right? So the idea here is that you can gamify this, right? Running a business is not the most fun sometimes. You know, I'm passionate about what I do, but there's a lot of mundane stuff in my routine that I don't always enjoy. And you know, when you can begin to gamify stuff, it allows you to commit to it. You can sort of like milk these low dopamine spikes, because doing the thing that you don't necessarily want to do all of a sudden now becomes enjoyable, because now instead of sending 20 cold DMs on day 2, you send 25, and then you start challenging yourself on response rates, so you start tailoring the message. If you can begin to progressively overload your business, I promise you that that trajectory scale that we was talking about just a minute ago is becoming a lot more linear, a lot more smoother, and most importantly, you're going to get data from this, because as we know, what gets measured gets managed. So you'll then be able to say, right, in month 1 I sent 100,000 emails, so month 2 I'm going to send 150, and of that, these people are going to open, and we get click-through rate of this, it's going to equal X amount of calls booked. So you can literally progressively overload your business. You can even use a logbook, right? So there's a logbook over there. I always log all my sessions, so I'm literally thinking, how much weight have I lifted? Today we had 40s for 10. I know that in a month or two's time, when we do another video, I'm gonna have 50s for reps as well. So it's literally like that. You know, in my business now, we're posting this video. There's not many of you watching, but I know in a couple of months' time, there's going to be lots of you watching. So it's one of them ones, and I feel like even though we've just covered 3 points in this video, there's a lot for you to unpack, and there's a lot for you to sort of interpret. Because again, I wanted to do this video to make you think. You know, if you're watching this still now, you're definitely on a different wavelength. You're on a frequency that is definitely going to help you grow your business, and these 3 pointers alone will definitely get you there. So we'll call it there for today's video. Anything that you want, questions wise, drop them in the comments, and I'll be happy to help.